Hello and welcome to the Radical Podcast, inspired by the essence of the word radical. Proceeding from the root, we explore the roots of metaphysical wisdom.
Season 3 of the Radical Pod is a seasonally aligned exploration of the collective unconscious through the study of archetypes, and we continue our deeper looks into astrology and tarot.
This is The Radical with Nicole and Christina,
the two metaphysical girls in the material world. Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Radical Podcast. This is Christina.
And I'm Nicole.
Today, we are covering the element of fire while we are still in Leo season. We're going to cover the other elements as we travel throughout the zodiacal year when we're in the other elemental energy seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a fun list. I've got a list of correspondences and attributes that I went on some rabbit holes with and added some last minute ideas. And then we're going to talk about our tarot cards. We've got some oracle decks that we'd love to talk about. And I have message from the universe from the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Oracle deck. This might be the first metaphysical deck I've ever owned.
Ooh.
Yes. It's either this one, so the 3 Kim Crans, the Animal Spirit, and that tarot deck. Her tarot deck might have been the first one, and then the archetype deck might have been the first 3. But this, I think, was the first metaphysical deck I've ever had. And I say that because as I was typing up my notes for here, I went up in here and looked at the fire element, and I looked at the animals they had listed, and some of those cards I've never seen.
Mm-hmm.
I've had this deck for a good 20 years, and some of these cards I have never pulled. I want to talk about the energy type of fire. This is active, sending, projective. This is yang energy. That is fire. The color associated with fire is red and orange. Any of those fiery colors. The season is summer. The time of day. Oh. What you got?
I have our elemental correspondences table pulled up. This is from, oh my gosh, almost 50 episodes ago. Is that right? This was like episode 55 or something when we talked about the aces and the elementals in tarot. And I made this table. And for the season, I have spring, because one way I think you can link the seasons, or at least this was like the explanation for why fire and spring correspond, because spring contains the cardinal fire sign, Aries.
Yes. This correspondence table is more of a, or it has some magical and metaphysical separate from zodiacal and tarot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's many different viewpoints.
Yes.
And lenses you can look through when like making these correspondences.
Absolutely. How about this one? Time of day, noon, or daytime. There's other schools of thought on that as well. I cannot stop thinking about the lion-headed goddess Sekhmet. I talked about her when we were talking about the fifth house and the sun, and as soon as I saw noon and day, I thought of her again, and I was like, the ancient Egyptian warrior and solar goddess. Her name means she who is powerful, and she's associated with the scorching heat of the midday sun. And I'm like, and if that's not fire energy, I don't know what is. And I'm going to talk about goddesses again in a minute, but the direction can be south. There might be other schools of thought on that. I'm looking at Nicole's face to see if she's like, what do you got, Nicole?
I have south in this table, but yeah, I would imagine there's other viewpoints with that too.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you're tying it with spring, and spring tends to have an eastward direction. So if you're kind of looking at the energy that way, you might see a different direction associated with it. Chakra, solar plexus. Now there's many, but solar plexus might be considered one of the most prominent energy chakras for the fire element. So the body, the fire, is our heart and our blood. Also, going into a deeper metaphysical realm, our soul and our spirit is our fire. Symbols for this element can be literal flames, embers, lava. I went off on a whole volcano tangent. Angel can be Saint Michael. I think we've mentioned this once or twice before. Mm-hmm. You definitely have this on your chart, listeners. Yes. That chart has all of this arranged. If you're thinking about regions, fire can be associated with deserts, volcanoes, saunas, and bedrooms as far as areas of the house. Plants, cacti, peppers, spicy and thorny plants have a fire element to them. Stones and crystals. For stones, jasper, especially the red or the orange colored ones, but also lava stones, lava pumice, not the pumice like for your feet pumice, but isn't there like a lava stone that you put essential oils in? That's called like a pumice stone or something like that. For crystals, tiger's eye, sunstone, and amber. I am forever drawn to zodiac birthstones. For Aries, as cardinal fire, it's diamond. Leo, fixed fire is ruby. And Sagittarius, for mutable fire, is garnet. I love all of those stones. In my collection, I keep talking about coal. Anytime we talk about fire, I'm like, I have pieces of coal that I really connect with when I'm thinking about fire element. But you might not feel that coal has that energy for you. Amber is another big one. I always associate amber with the sun. And I love tiger's eye. Tiger's eye for me goes with Leo and that strength card, which is all very fiery energy as well. But I always celebrate any of the fire zodiac seasons by changing my jewelry, and I get out my my diamonds, whether they be real or fake. They could be clear crystals, but I love the rainbow fiery sparkle of a clear sparkly stone, like a diamond or a diamond. For metals associated with fire, we have gold. Gold is connected to solar energy, vitality, warmth, illumination of the mind and the soul, and also bronze. And you want to know why bronze? It has an element of being refined through fire. And I don't know exactly what that entails to mix and to make bronze, what needs to come together or what needs to be separated, but bronze symbolizing that creation through fire, or that refinement through fire. And bronze is like in history is a barrier against external negative or destructive forces, so it's highly protective. Are you ready for some fire element animals?
Yes.
Snake, firefly, also scorpions and sharks. In our tarot universe, we have a lot of salamanders and lizards with the wands and with the fire court cards and with that wands energy. For instruments, and this, like I said, this came off of a for practicing metaphysical and manifestation and magical work. Instruments that represent fire are string instruments, like a ukulele or a guitar or a harp. Primary traits of fire is passion, transformation, courage, sexuality, and purification. There's an element of purification and refinement when it comes to fire. Magical uses for fire, or with that fire element, is protection, banishing, leadership, strength, and willpower. The energy working tool could be the antheme or the sword. I personally use candles and seeds. Also, sticks, wood, and yes, acorns. I like that those represent fire in my manifestation works. And I love candles, and sometimes even incense, even though incense can kind of go into the realm of air. But
When we talked about divination practices, because
yes.
I added the divination practices by element to this table. And so for fire, candle gazing,
Mm-hmm.
looking for patterns in incense smoke, which we have under fire, but I can see how that could maybe overlap with air as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking for patterns in candle wax dripping.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I have in my home is candles. I love a candle.
And candle gazing is so beneficial
Yeah.
because it alters our brainwave state. It puts us into like a more meditative and like relaxed state. So,
I
extra
remember
bonus.
our whole podcast on divination. We talked about one of the candle gazing meditation techniques that they have scientific studies behind it proving that it's effective, that it works. And then when you're trying to create the fire energy, it can be empowered by burning, heating, but also boiling. Goddesses. I have been lucky enough to visit Hawaii. And so I feel like I have a history with Pele, the Hawaiian goddess of volcanoes, lightning, and fire. Pele is known as a fierce, creative, but also destructive force of nature through fire. And often that is what fire is. It's destructive and creative. The destruction of a forest fire lays the groundwork for new growth to come behind it. Volcanoes are throughout the region of Hawaii, throughout the Pacific area there, and the cultures all have really prominent fire deities because it's such a key part of their life living in that region of the world.
In traditional Chinese medicine, the emotion is joy, but also cruelty for that exact
Mm. Mm-hmm.
reason.
Fire is cruel. It'll burn you. It'll burn you. But like I said, I've been lucky enough to visit Hawaii, and I have mentioned how I am a collector of things. I pick up feathers, I pick up shells, I pick up rocks. But did you know that if you visit Hawaii, that there's a modern belief that you should not be taking lava rocks or sand from Hawaii because it'll bring bad luck and misfortune until it is returned back to the island?
Do you know how I know that?
Did it happen to you?
No. I believe John Oliver did a bit on this, and he was talking about how people have mailed back
Mm-hmm.
rocks and other like natural like shells. They've mailed it back to Hawaii. And so it was this bit about how Hawaii has been like inundated with people mailing rocks and things back with like notes
Oh,
apologizing
I love
for
it.
taking. Yeah,
I love
I
it.
think it was
But
John Oliver.
there's an element there also when I'm collecting objects. I ask permission, and oftentimes I do a trade, or I'll leave something when I take something, or I ask if it's okay to take something. I do that. I'll speak to the to the spirits of that area, or whatever it might be. But in my home, I don't think I have anything from the multiple times. And I was stationed in Hawaii when I was in the military, and I couldn't point to anything in my home that came from Hawaii. Like, I have like souvenirs, but I don't think I have any natural objects. But I love that I feel like I have a connection to Pele. I feel that I've been on that island. I've been to little areas where people have dedicated, like, for lack of a better word, an altar to Pele, where people have left prayers and things in certain areas for that deity. And I love that energy and the story of that goddess. But there's many other goddesses, many other deities associated with fire. So there's the primordial fire, but then there's also the fire of the hearth and the home, which was a very big deal in a lot of cultures, especially Greek and Roman. They have Hestia and Vesta and the Celtic Bridget, that the home fire was a creative fire, and in some ways just as important as like the natural primordial fire. So you'll find so many deities associated with this element of fire. I had so much fun. Wikipedia has a fantastic article on fire deities, especially fire goddesses, if you're interested. For tarot, I like the knights for fire, and they are generally associated with fire. Their mantras: I desire. They have creativity, determination, ambition, and also movement. The wands are the fire suit. Wands can be called batons, clubs, staves. In my spirit song, they are acorns, which I totally get seeds and acorns for fire because it has that potential for life inside of it. And what is fire in the medicine woman one that you have? Is it like pipes
Pipes.
or pipes? Different ways that it can be represented.
And then in the major arcana, the fire cards, we have the Emperor, Strength, the Wheel of Fortune, Temperance, the Tower, the Sun, and Judgment.
Yes.
And
And
we are in
those,
agreement that the knights
yes.
are fire.
Yeah. I mean, and even if we didn't agree, we could still see that other elements are associated with those tarot cards. But yeah, Nicole and I do see them both that way. And those fire cards are all associated. I didn't talk about fire planets. Just as we're sitting here, you're going to talk about the planets? Okay. I'm sitting here and I'm like, you just named those tarot cards. And in my head, I was like, Mars, Jupiter. And I'm like, oh, I didn't leave a note here for that, but we'll cover that. I'm just going to wrap it up my list by saying I am using the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Guide, and it is such a fantastic oracle deck. Like I said, one of my first, and it has the fire creatures of the desert and grasslands, and I listed something I've never done. I listed all the animals that the author has put together, and what a fun list it is, from the fire ant to the tarantula to the elephant. And we're going to talk more about them. But as far as other animals that can go with that energy, it's all open to interpretation. And regions, like areas on the planet, all open to interpretation.
Our fire planets, Mars, the Sun, and Jupiter, and then our fire zodiac signs, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. And I think between me and you, between your list and me chiming in, we talked about everything on the elemental correspondences table.
What a good table that is, Nicole.
It's very
that is a good table.
Helpful. It was one of the first tables I think that I made, and it will be in the Substack. This kind of updated version. I've made some little tweaks and additions, but yeah, we covered covered all of it. I looked through my Black Moon astrology guidebook. Susan Shepard, in this deck, in the Black Moon astrology deck, she has the houses, the celestial bodies, the zodiac signs, the elements, as well as certain astrological aspects. So there's a lot in this deck and guidebook, and it fits in perfectly with our podcast. So some of these keywords come from Susan Shepard, others just, from my mind. But for fire, some keywords we can think about: quick movement, spontaneity, which kind of ties into the tarot nights, like we said. The element of fire is associated with the ego, being assertive, courageous, confident, and daring. Also desire, passion, creativity, beginnings, but also changes and transformation, as well as strength. And then I pulled this quote from the Black Moon Astrology Guidebook. She says, "Fire is burning determination. Fire scorches away impurities, clearing a landscape for new growth and leaving an area healthier and stronger." And also, because I too have the Kim Kranz Wild Unknown Pocket, well, I have the Pocket Animal Spirit deck, but they're the same. Mine are just the smaller version. Like Christina said, the fire element in this deck, Kim Kranz has the animals of, or the creatures of, the desert and the grasslands. She writes in her guidebook that these animals represent the ego and challenge us to become our best selves. The heat they emit is the elixir of our transformation. I love that. She also says, when all else fails, remember fire is the only thing that transforms darkness into light. And the way she orders the animals, they're in a particular order in her guidebook. And the suggestion is that they're arranged in sort of this like order of maturity. or maybe
Hmm.
like embodiment of the elemental energy. So the very first fire animal in her guidebook is the fire ant.
Mm-hmm.
And the final two animals are the lion and the elephant. For the lion, she says that this animal is the master of the fire element and the living mascot of self transformation. And I don't think we can see a lion in any other oracle deck without thinking about
I know.
Leo,
Yeah.
without thinking about the strength card. And then our elephant, Kim Kranz writes that it illuminates the way with the light of self knowledge. And I love with fire, there's this idea of self knowledge, but also transformation. It makes me think of the Phoenix Rising archetype.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me think of temperance, going
Yeah.
through the fire and being tempered.
There's an element of when we were talking about bronze, about refinement through fire,
Mm-hmm.
and temperance and being tempered or hardened or honed through fire or
Mm-hmm.
challenges or difficulties in your life. And that's another part of that temperance energy, is that fire
Mm-hmm.
purify, it challenges us and it changes us.
Yeah.
The elephant card in this deck came to me, and I have such a connection to this card. Seeing it almost makes me cry whenever I see it. It came to me at such an important time in my life, and it meant so much to me when I saw it. And I generally would see an elephant in a different light. I don't know if I associated it with a fire element. I might have associated more with earthiness. So when I got it as part of her deck in the fire element, and the picture of the elephant with the fire at the end of its trunk and the ember at its third eye area, oh my gosh, it was such an important message to me when I had this deck. And that elephant, just seeing it, it just lights me up inside again, because I connect so deeply to that moment in my life when I got the message from that card. Like I said, I've had this deck a long time, and some cards are like my friends, and some of them I've never met. So never, like the hyena card. I didn't even know the hyena was in there, and that's the second fire card. But it's Oracle decks. That's why Oracle decks are so fun and fascinating and self-revealing, because we interact with them from where we are, and we change. So you put a deck down and then you pick it up, and then you have a different interaction with it because you're in a different place. But the deck can always be the same. It can always give you different messages. I mean, that's true of tarot too, but oracle decks have a lot of more diverse definitions, interpretations, images, and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Oh, I want to talk about the Celestial Bodies Oracle deck. I didn't take a picture of the fire card for this episode, but it is in the fifth house picture. The
Mm.
fire card is there. And I just want to highlight again from the Celestial Bodies Oracle deck that the key terms the author chose are passionate, ardent, enthusiasm, heat, speed, confidence, opinionated, creative, and impulsive. In light, the fire element is stimulating, exciting, brave, and activated. Individuals with many fire placements in their charts will embody these qualities. But I also love how in the guidebook they have a shadow. In shadow, fire can be very subjective, induce tunnel vision, and fail to understand the viewpoint of others. Domination rather than harmony. Individuals with lack of fire placements in their chart may be underconfident, depressive, lack motivation, or generally feel pessimistic. So we can see light, fire, and shadow. And we've talked about how you can find out how much fire in your birth
Mm-hmm.
chart, right? Based on the planets. We just talked about this, I feel, that you could find out the weight
Yeah.
of the elements in your birth chart. And the last place I went to print off my birth chart online gave me the elemental weight of the elements in my birth chart. So
We
it's an
talked about
interesting
it.
thing.
Yeah, we talked about it in Tarot Meets Our Birth Chart. And the template we made that you can follow if you want to, there's a way to tally up your elements. And I have a lot of fire in my chart.
I have a lot of fire as well. Oh, and my what did I say? What's that called when you have fire placements in all three zodiac signs? Fire is the only element I have placements in all three: Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. That is the only what's trine, I guess. That's the
Mm-hmm.
only element I have placements in all three.
I think when it's all three, is it a grand trine?
I'd have to
I
look it
think
up.
it's a
I don't
grand
know.
trine. That's what I remember. I would add to the shadow side, pulling from that TCM idea of cruelty,
Mm-hmm.
too much ego. There's this idea right now because Jupiter is in Leo and will be until I believe next July 2027 that Jupiter can expand or magnify
Mm-hmm.
some of these Leo qualities, and it can go either way, right? Like Jupiter's
Yeah.
expanding everything, light and shadow. And if we look at the world stage and certain political leaders, I think you can see some of the shadow kind of in the spotlight when it comes to that toxic ego, too much ego running the show.
Mm-hmm.
So, through the lens of tarot, the major arcana card associated with the element of fire is Judgment, the second to last card. It's also Pluto's card. So, there is an idea that Judgment can be categorized as like a water
Mm-hmm.
element card.
But
But I will say, T. Susan Chang does have the Judgment card as the overarching major arcana card for the story of fire.
and before we hit record, you reminded me that Pluto was discovered in 1920 or 30 something.
Mm-hmm.
Previous to that, it was Jupiter, which is a fire planet. So it's not hard for me to see fire in the Judgment card. I see it. If anything, to me, it's more fire than water.
You were right. 1930 was when Pluto was discovered. And I won't ever forget, you saying that Scorpio has that touch of
Mm-hmm.
fire
Mm-hmm.
with the Scorpion.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the cards in the Kim Krantz deck that
That's
is
fire.
a fire. So there you go.
Yes. Yes.
The archetypes, I wrote down the hero, warrior, and the phoenix rising. These to me, especially the phoenix rising, of course, like fire is an integral part of that archetype, and it feels very Plutonian to me as well. The most fiery court card award goes to the Knight of Wands. Fire in
Yes.
fire. And for the most fiery minor arcana, I chose the Two of Wands, the Three of Wands, the Six of Wands, and the Seven of Wands. All wands, all fire. That makes sense. I have a few sort of reminder notes here about the meaning of the Judgment card. So, we talked about this card last year during Scorpio season, but this is aligning with your divine purpose. There's no going back. We cannot stay where we are. A personal and internal renaissance. If we look at the whole hero's journey and think about, descending into the underworld and integrating our shadow and all of that, this card is kind of that phase of the journey where we're like emerging from that part of the healing journey, and we're in sort of that integration phase, and we're ready to carry forward the wisdom, the lessons, the experience, the clarity. It's about the Judgment card is about balancing our thirds, our free will, our fate, and our experience. We have come into contact with like our intuition, our inner knowing. I personally believe that having like a higher power is part of this card, and part of like what we formulate on our personal hero's journey. Discernment comes to mind with this card, as well as recalibration, reflection, and self appraisal. So, as I've done so far in season 3, I made a table of these tarot cards and kind of looked at the element of fire through the lens of tarot. And when we look at these minor arcana cards, the 2, 3, 6, and 7 of Wands, the leading zodiac signs, Aries and Leo. The leading celestial body, Mars. The leading court card, the Queen of Wands. For these 4 cards, the Hermetic titles from Aleister Crowley, Dominion, Virtue, Victory, and Valor are the keywords.
Mm-hmm.
And remember how we thought about the jobs?
Yeah.
So, because the 2 and 3 of Wands are Aries, the major arcana card is the Emperor. The 6 and 7 of Wands, Leo, we have the Strength card. So I started thinking about Dominion, Virtue, Victory, and Valor as the jobs of the Emperor and the Strength card, but also the Hero, Warrior. Like it's
Yeah.
all kind of coming together.
Yeah. I feel that archetypal energy
Mm-hmm.
in that collection of cards.
Yeah. The Queen of Wands also emphasizes Aries because she's cardinal fire. She's associated with Aries. Mars brings to mind the Tower card. There's a literal bolt of lightning
Mm-hmm.
on that card. My honorable mention, I didn't even think about this card until literally like 10 or 15 minutes before we started recording, but the sun. It's a literal ball of fire.
It
So
is
it
a
didn't make
ball
the
of
cut.
combustion,
Yes.
literally.
But I
Pure
did,
combustive energy in the sky.
yeah. So it made it as an honorable mention.
Looked at my mythic tarot deck, and for the suit of fire, the story of the wands, the author chose Jason and the Argonauts and their expedition to seek the Golden Fleece to be the story represented graphically on the wands cards. Starting with the Ace of Wands to the technically the Page of Wands, the Knight, Queen, and King of Wands are characters representing the energy, not necessarily related to the story. I watched a YouTube video that was excellent because it showed a map and the modern equivalent or the modern names of the places that Jason and the Argonauts visited in that journey. I watched a free YouTube video. It was fascinating. And in the guidebook of the Mythic Tarot, the author writes, because the story is really a quest where the hero must rely on faculties other than will and rational thought, it may be seen as a portrayal of the creative imagination and its mysterious power to move events and provide solutions from inner levels that elude our conscious understanding. Thus, the story of Jason is a specialized adventure which circles around the central motif of the human imagination. Very fiery. I won't go into too many details about the story because you could easily find it, listeners. But the the way that the author and the illustrator went through the phases of the story with the energy of the wands cards is fascinating. It worked out very beautifully to me. With the Ace of Wands, the initiator of the fire is Zeus, who is at the core of that story and the initiator of that fire. It has the Two of Wands, young Jason leaving the mentorship of Chiron, leaving the cave, which is very much the classic Two of Wands planning and preparation stage. The Five of Wands, we get introduced to Medea, the infamous witch. Do you know Medea? Have you heard her story or heard of her? Very misunderstood, often maligned heroine of this story, the
Hmm.
witch heroine. I call her a heroine. Some people do not call her a heroine. But a very complicated, multi-leveled character in the story, just like Jason. If anything, she is key to this story. It should be called Jason and Medea and the adventures that they went on together. With the Five of Wands, Jason and Medea taking on the dragon guardian of the Golden Fleece, that the author writes, it's trouble on the concrete level. And although there is real danger, there's also a lot of internal struggle. Like Medea is using her knowledge to overcome the dragon. They didn't kill the dragon, they used herbs to put the dragon to sleep so that they could just take the fleece and go. So there's not this there's a element of forcefulness, but there's a huge element of resourcefulness and skill and information and knowledge. Anything that has to do with Medea generally is about strategy and knowledge and sometimes a lot of cruelty. But I won't get into the details. Listeners, you can read the whole story or watch a YouTube video like I did of the whole story of it. But I included a picture of the cards. They're beautiful. The colors are amazing. And if you're very familiar with the energy of the classic Rider-Waite-Smith deck, you can see that the illustrator and the author did a very good comparison or a very good crossover. That, you know, the Eight of Wands is movement and action, and the Eight of Wands picture is the Argo just moving through the water with the dolphins. It's a card of movement and forward motion. But it is a fascinating story. And we talk about fire. We talk about the archetypal energies, the different energies of the characters in that story as it relates to the hero warrior, as it relates to the sage, as it relates to a lot of the other archetypal energies that we're going to talk about. Because Joseph Campbell said that mythology is a projection of the unconscious, wait,
The collective unconscious.
the collective unconscious projected out of us into stories and how we relate to the unknown and how we relate to the unknown and how we relate to the known. So at the core of these myths is almost all of the archetypal energies that we are going to talk about in this year, in this
And
season.
with fire, the suit of wands, you know, if you go back to last season when we talked about the groupings of 3 minor arcana cards per zodiac sign and the decans, one of the sections was looking for the story because these cards are telling a story. And I can't quite remember when I listened to this talk, but I think it was before we started the second season of the podcast because it was about the decans. And I was like, yeah, I want to know more. And the talk was called Story Weavers. And the woman who gave the talk, her name is Krista Hamilton. And she told the stories of the minor arcana with more modern or well-known, maybe, stories. So for the wands, the suit of fire, she chose Arya Stark and her growth through the show Game of Thrones.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
And I'm looking at the slide from her presentation and it's just pictures and I can't remember now, you know, all the plot points, but it's this idea that yes, the tarot is a hero's journey and the archetypes fit into the tarot deck. And the archetypes are so recognizable to us. And so is the hero's journey. Like it's because it's part of this collective unconscious that it feels familiar. We're kind of like born with this knowledge. And you can look to myth, which speaks to how long we've been telling these stories and how similar they are over time and different cultures. So it's in ancient myth, but it's also in a show from the last 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's familiar to anybody who would look at it because it is our human experience with everything around us that we can relate. Oh, I love that. So I will patiently wait for that tarot deck to be released, the Game of Thrones tarot deck. With Arya Stark as the fire story, because that's essentially what the Mythic Tarot did, was choose some of the well-known mythical stories and place them in the story of the wands and the story of the swords and the story of the pentacles. And it helped me. I am very glad we did the previous 2 seasons where I became very familiar with the flow of the tarot deck. So now it's easier for me to line up other stories with the energy of the deck. And it doesn't even have to line up that well, because it's honestly the interpretation of the person who's putting it together. The plot points can be different. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. It doesn't have to be. We might prefer it all to line up, but often it doesn't. And that's okay, because as long as the meaning and the energy and the story comes across. Are you ready for a message from the universe, or do you have another note on the story of the wands?
I'm ready.
I have 3 cards from the Wild Unknown Spirit Animal Guidebook by Kim Krans. So pick 1, 2, or 3. Card 1 is the bee. Earnest, hardworking, democratic. The bee personality is a delight to be around, especially when there's a team project on the horizon. Bees love to work steadily and thoughtfully until the final task is complete. They are sensitive creatures, aware of many subtleties at once. Since they're artists at heart, they usually add creative details to the overall vision. For the most part, they have bustling, joyous personalities until they're too tired from all their work. Then they gripe and they sting. When in balance, content, active, and vibrant. When out of balance, overworked and annoyed. To bring into balance, mini vacation.
Ooh. Is that the air element?
That is air, yes. And the next one is cheetah. This is a fire card.
Mm-hmm.
Cheetah, solar force, action, achievement, and masculine energy. The cheetah is the epitome of the solar forces at work. The sun doesn't shine onto the cheetah, it shines from inside this great creature and expands outward to brighten the universe. The energy within a cheetah personality is palpable to others, and they naturally attract an audience to bear witness to their remarkable achievements. Purpose and passion are the best fuel for a cheetah's forward momentum. So if you're lacking in those areas, reconnect to the why before you start running. When in balance, achieves anything in boundless energies. When out of balance, impatient, competitive. And to bring into balance, reconnect to purpose. And the final, is the vulture. Another air card. Guardian and purifier, essential for rebalance. The vulture is perhaps the most misunderstood creature of all. This intriguing bird balances our ecosystem and prevents the spread of disease. It does the dirty work that no one else wants to do and cleans up our messes. The vulture appears when there's a situation that needs to be purified or brought back into balance. Remember, the vulture is greatly undervalued. What you thought was a mistake or tragedy is a blessing in disguise. When in balance, clarifies, reveals wisdom. When out of balance, dramatic, aggressive. To bring into balance, clean your space, sage.
Ooh. And you said that was air element?
Yeah,
I, I heard a little bit of fire in there,
I did
especially
too.
like kind of that temperance energy, like converting a bad experience into wisdom.
And guardian and purifier.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love this deck. I'm so glad to have this deck in my hands and to look at it. And I knew the bee was coming today. As I was shuffling and moving this deck around, this bee card popped out at least 2 other times. So I was not surprised when it was the first card I pulled after I shuffled it. The bee energy was strong today. But that's the message from the universe.
Thank you, universe. Next week, we are moving out of Leo season into Virgo season.
Ooh, yes.
As such, we are going to start the new zodiacal season with the associated archetype. That's kind of the flow that we're going to have for the next year. And that archetype is I'm giving them like compound names. I haven't even like run this by you, Christina. But the Sage Oracle. I like how that sounds. So the Sage Oracle archetype is going to be next week for Virgo.
The one thing that is becoming so clear to me as we are moving into this year, and the more I learn about archetypal energy, the more I realize there's to learn about archetypal energy and the archetypes and what the definition is and what they mean and how many they are and classical interpretations and new interpretations and new ways to see this energy. It is limitless, just as the human unconscious is limitless. So we can, I mean, and now even thinking about Virgo energy and Sage energy, I'm like, does that match? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, as far as Virgo, but it doesn't have to be a perfect fit like
it doesn't,
Leo,
but it doesn't not fit.
It doesn't not fit. That's the other thing too. Yes. Thank you, listeners.
Until then, listeners, we love you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. The Radical Podcast is created and produced by Nicole and Christina.
Music by Van Horton. Logo design by Melissa Waples. Stay in touch with us at linktr.ee/theradicalpodnc.